Hi, my name is Pete Eyre, and this is an open message to Monadnock high school and middle school students, as well as their parents and employees at that building. Over the past few months, as a lot of you are aware, there's been attempts by myself and some friends to visit the school, as well as area schools, and hand out literature, and ultimately to share ideas. Not too unsurprisingly, there's been some pushback. School admins have encouraged us to first get permission before we engage in such activities, and some students, even at Monadnock particularly, have voiced their opposition to the tactics employed by myself and some of my friends, going so far as to have a campaign, remain respectfully silent. Which is great. People are free to do that. But the purpose of this video is to try to communicate ideas that I wished that I would be able to share there in person. For me, if me or some friends being there causes one student to think for themselves, to think about rights, think about who owns them, things like that, then I think it's successful. But I also am an advocate of opportunity costs, and I believe that if a certain action results in a lot of negative feedback, perhaps the goal, which is again is to just share ideas, to have a conversation, perhaps that could be gone about through different means. So that's the purpose of this video, to have a short conversation with you, and ultimately to invite you to sit down with me. I'll be at the Starbucks in Keene every Saturday at noon, starting this Saturday, the end of March here, and then through April. And it might be myself, I might be with a friend. If for some reason I'm out of the area, not able to go, there'll be somebody else there. But every Saturday at noon, starting the end of March now and going through April, and going as long as it's necessary and as long as there's interest, we'll be at Starbucks at noon in Keene, and I encourage you to come on down. If you have any questions about why myself or my friends have come out to your school to try to engage with you, if you have any questions about the resources on the literature that has been shared, if you have any thoughts, feedback, criticism, whatever, I really encourage you to come out and take an hour out of your day to sit down and have a conversation. My motivation is love. It's not to make anybody look bad or belittle anybody or to force any ideas down anybody's throats. I merely want to introduce ideas. I just want to share ideas that may not have been touched on in public schools, or that may not be touched on in the mainstream media. These are ideas such as self-ownership. I believe each individual owns himself and has a right to act as they choose, as long as they don't negatively infringe on the rights of others. When you look to somebody else as the final authority to be able to share an idea with somebody, then you grant them power over you. You essentially give them permission to be a censor. And I just wanted to bring up a couple quotes because I think their quotes are powerful. Here's a quote by Whitney Griswold. He says, "Books won't stay banned, they won't burn, ideas won't go to jail. In the long run of history, the censor and the inquisitor have always lost. The only sure weapon against bad ideas is better ideas. The source of better ideas is wisdom." And one more that's shorter: "A censor is a man who knows more than he thinks you ought to." So again, we're talking about individuals who think for whatever reason they have the right to control what information gets shared with other individuals. And again, when myself and my friends visit your school, we're not abrasive. We're not thrusting literature in people's hands. We're standing there with smiles on our face, welcoming, like saying hello, and asking people if they'd like to take some information. And many people do, and they're appreciative for it. And that's what ultimately this comes down to. It's just about sharing ideas and being introduced to new ideas and chewing on them and seeing what makes sense for yourself. Maybe after you contemplate and chew on these ideas that I'm talking about, you don't agree with them, you reject them, and that's fine. That's your choice. But I would, as we each strive to become a better, more principled, more consistent, more evolved person, then we should welcome new ideas and be open to shedding bad ideas for better ideas. And that way we can live in the kind of community that we want, where people are supportive of each other. So again, I'd encourage you, if you're at all interested, to stop on down at Starbucks this Saturday at 12 o'clock and any of the rest of the Saturdays in April. So hope to see you. If you got any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you later. Peace. And before I go, just one more thing. as I mentioned, I was down at Monadnock in mid-December doing some outreach, but a lot of my friends, some of my friends have gone out in subsequent visits. My friend Derek J. Freeman has posted a couple videos on his site, one called School Principal Gets Owned, another one Detained for Handing Out Literature. And, you know, I don't want to single Derek out exclusively, but I want to talk more about people continuing to go out and do outreach in lieu of things like this remain respectfully silent, which again is great. People are free to remain silent. They're free not to engage, free not to take literature, whatever, to each their own. Me personally, I chose not to continue going out to Monadnock because there was a lot of pushback, and I again think that these ideas are what is my motivation for being there is to share ideas, and if there's a contingent of hostility there, I think these ideas could be shared in other forums, which again is why I've expressed interest to other Monadnock students who have told me that they are going to talk with school admins and see if perhaps myself and maybe another couple friends could come and do a panel discussion or a debate or a presentation or something of that sort, because I think it would be a lot more fruitful. I just want to share these ideas in a comfortable environment where no one feels threatened, no one feels out of place, and people want to be there. I guess I should talk a little bit more about this Remain Respectfully Silent coalition of some students at Monadnock. I think it's great that individuals are voluntarily associating with people that they choose to. That's essentially what this is. Individuals are getting together on points of common overlap, which in this case is remain respectfully silent, related to people when they come to do outreach. And that's great. But even better, in my opinion, would just be to ignore, would be to ignore people that are doing things that you don't agree with. I mean, if I came out to Monadnock School every day and handed out literature, would you, if you're a member of Remain Respectfully Silent, would you then feel obligated to spend 10, 15 minutes, however long I'm out there just with your arms crossed, remaining respectfully silent? I mean, doesn't that then gives me, doesn't that then like bestow upon me some sort of like power? Because like when I'm there, then it causes you to have a reaction. Why not just ignore me and walk past me and go on with your life? I mean, I don't understand, and I'm not trying to diss you at all, but it's just it's just how I personally treat such things in the world. If someone has an idea or is doing something I disagree with, I just choose not to associate with it. I just choose not to be there, and instead I allocate my time. Again, it's an opportunity cost. There's only 24 hours in a day, so why waste your time standing on the sidewalk with your arms crossed? Why not do something that is more fulfilling to yourself? Like create something, pursue your own passions, your hobbies, your work, whatever. And again, I'm not trying to detract anybody from doing what they feel necessary to do, if it aligns with your conscience and if it aligns with your principles, and by all means stand out there and do it. But I'm just calling into question, if you disagree with something, you have a number of options, not just I disagree with a lot of the things like some strangers in DC in this big dome called the Capitol do, but I don't go down there with my arms crossed and say I'm going to remain respectfully silent. I just ignore them. Just go on with your life, live free. So if you're one of the folks active with those guys, I encourage you especially to come out and sit down at Starbucks with me at noon. I look forward to meeting with you or with students on the fence or students that are supportive or parents or school admins or anybody. So anybody from the larger community. And again, I would want to reinforce that we're all individuals. So actions that I take aren't necessarily supportive or not supportive by my friends. And conversely, the same is true for myself and the actions of my friends. This isn't a free keen thing or a cop block thing or anything. It's me as an individual. I like to share ideas. I like to have conversations. I like to challenge, to have my own thoughts challenged and to learn from people. So that's what this is. It's about a personal evolution, and if we're all open and working towards evolving, if then this world can only become a better place. But if we allow ourselves to be closed-minded and dogmatic and let other people make decisions for us and decide what sort of information we can or cannot be exposed to, then we're negating our own rights. We're negating our own self-ownership and letting somebody else, dictate the inputs that are in your life. So I would just encourage you to think about these things, and I appreciate your time. So enough for now. Again, Saturday at noon. Peace.